Today I think was really TikTok's last best hope of the Supreme Court sort of throwing it a life preserver short of this January 19th deadline. But I really don't think it's very likely the Supreme Court will rescue TikTok. That certainly was not the direction of the questions that they were asking today. And I think as you said, this was really about kind of the national security interest versus kind of a First Amendment concern. And what I think you heard from the justices is that the issue isn't really about squelching the speech of individual users on TikTok. The question is really about ownership. The law that Congress passed forces ByteDance, the owner of TikTok, Chinese company, to sell it. And it doesn't mean that TikTok can't continue operating. It just says that we do not want this a critical service to be owned by a company that is beholden to the Chinese government. And so, I think you heard a lot of skepticism from the majority in the court, and I think they will uphold the law that requires a divestiture by the 19th.
I'm glad you mentioned that because so many folks at home have questions. They're like, I love TikTok. It's on my phone. In fact, I have my phone right here. I'm often on TikTok scrolling and getting information or doing whatever with that social media platform. What's going to happen on the 19th? Will the app stores be forced to take it down? Will it stop working for all of those users across the U.S.?
Great question. Well, barring an unexpected last-minute intervention from the Supreme Court, which I don't think is likely, what will happen on the 19th is that the app stores, which is really first the Apple App Store and Google Play Store, will be prohibited under the law from providing TikTok under the app stores, and they do that under the penalty of a $5,000 per user per day fine, and so that's a very real thing. The other thing that's likely to happen, although this is less clear, is TikTok is probably not going to work for people who have it already installed on their phones. And that's because it also holds any American companies who might be hosting TikTok, in this case, Oracle, which is their main US company hosting the service. The law would hold a hosting company like Oracle legally liable. So Oracle would also be subject to massive fines if it allowed it to do that. Now, President Trump or President-elect Trump could say, look, I'm not going to enforce this law. I direct my Justice Department not to enforce it. But I don't think that Apple and Google and Oracle can take that to the bank at all, because that could change in the future. They could be held liable down the road. And so I don't think they're going to count on President Trump saying that he's not going to have his Justice Department enforce that law. So I think it's very likely that on the 19th, the day before Trump is inaugurated, that the app really just could stop working for all Americans.
But you have mentioned that President Trump has made several comments about what he would like to do instead. Where do you see that going? What would his process look like if he did want to save TikTok?
Well, it's interesting because TikTok, the company, and ByteDance has kind of put all of its chips on Trump, right? So they've really, bet their entire strategy on him. But the reality is that the law that was passed by Congress does not give the president, either President Biden or President Trump, really much of an opportunity to rescue the company. And that was by design. In some ways, the law is president-proof. Now, Trump has said he loves TikTok, and that's because, the company has come to him and showed him how well his content, performed on TikTok during the campaign. He's also filed a brief to intervene for TikTok, but that doesn't mean a lot because, again, the law doesn't give the president much authority to do that. There's been some reporting today that Trump would love to broker a sale to a US-based owner. The problem, really, though, is that the Chinese owner of TikTok, ByteDance, really clearly does not want to sell, and I think would view it as a loss of face within China for selling. By the way, the fact that they are so unwilling to sell that they've done nothing to line up a potential buyer actually reaffirms the concerns of a lot of people that the Chinese government really does have a vested interest in kind of controlling this important vector of information.
And Adam, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to pull up this tweet as well that we have there from the former Vice President Mike Pence. He did say that today the Supreme Court will hear an appeal of the decision to uphold the TikTok divest or ban law. As I said last month, the U.S. Court of Appeals got it right. For the security and privacy of the American people, the Supreme Court should allow this law to stand. And beyond that, we have also heard there from the Chinese embassy as well. This is from the Associated Press, saying, quote, that this is from the Chinese embassy, saying that the U.S. has never found evidence that TikTok threatens U.S. national security, but it has used state power and abused national security concerns to unreasonably suppress it, which is not fair at all. The U.S. should truly respect the principles of market economy and fair competition, stop unreasonably suppressing companies from other countries, and provide an open, fair, and just non-discriminatory environment for companies from all countries to invest and operate there in the United States. I know we just went over a lot of different statements there. What are your thoughts, Adam, on that?
Well, I mean, come on, give me a break. I mean, China does not allow Facebook, YouTube to operate in China, right? So if you want to talk about discriminatory treatment, I mean, China pioneered that, right? So they're not allowing our own services, American services, to operate in China. So I don't really think there's much credence to that. Look, if TikTok were just some harmless video app, then the Chinese government would have allowed it to be sold a long time ago. The fact that they're so indignant about it being sold is just a big glaring neon sign that the Chinese government views TikTok as a national security asset, and that should give Americans a lot of pause. And so I just think like the virulence of the Chinese reaction here, the Chinese government reaction, kind of tells you all you really need to know about the Chinese influence through TikTok.
And it's been interesting, of course, today we did know as well that several folks who use TikTok creators as they're dubbed, they're suing the government, and they were speaking out at a news conference as well. Do you think that this will go anywhere? Do they have any shot of saving the platform that they say they depend for their livelihood?
Well, I'm sympathetic and I understand. I do think one of the things that is likely to happen if TikTok is not sold and chooses not to be sold and goes dark in the US as a result is that these creators will migrate to other platforms. That's what's happened in countries like India where TikTok has been banned. Most creators have then shifted to Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts. And they have found ways to monetize their content. I think that's a little bit overstated. I'm sure, clearly there are a massive audience and network effects within TikTok that might be hard to recreate. But I think you've also seen a lot of creators anticipating this change and really, spreading their audience to other sites as a result.
I've certainly seen it. I've seen them posting on TikTok in particular saying, hey, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Lemonade, follow me on X even, just so that way they can keep up that platform. Of course, we appreciate you for being with us here on Live Now. Adam, the tech policy expert, helping us to break down the very latest with this TikTok ban.
Thank you.